Welcome to Balance Do. This is part 2 episode of How to Be Happy. And since Valentine's Day is here, one creative way to make your significant other happy, take them to the comedy show. Good jokes make people happy. So let's delve into that topic a little further and talk about people that tell jokes for a living. Comedians. Now, historically speaking, jesters were what they called comedians back in the Middle Ages. They dressed in colorful costumes, wore very distinctive hats that were floppy, made of cloth, and had a jingle bell at the end of 3 points. And they carried scepters, which was an ornamental, symbolic staff that represented authority. Now, most of them lived hand to mouth, traveled wherever they could get work, and they were commonly found at fairs and marketplaces. Now, the court jester, that was the highest level of a jester. And that was usually as high as they could ascend in those days. And their talent was strictly evaluated and designed for the pleasure of the king, to entertain and uplift his mood, brighten events, and prevent state affairs from becoming over-oppressed. Now, the court jester's job was a lot more intense and stressful than today's comedians. They couldn't have an off night. If the court jester's jokes didn't work, there was always the possibility the king could have the royal court summons the jester to the chopping block, which meant he would get his head chopped off. And that makes the repercussions of the Tiffany Haddish stand-up comedy video that went viral very dull in comparison. She's one of the most popular female comedians right now. She's had a succession of successful movies: Night School, Girls Trip, Uncle Drew, Legos 2. She was also the first black woman to host Saturday Night Live. As a matter of fact, she'll be here in Seattle next month. For those of you that haven't seen the video, she just had a bad night, And that was one of her shows this past New Year's. And someone in the audience recorded it live and posted it. And some of the people that made comments were so cruel with the things they said. However, I must say in her defense, there's not a comedian today that hasn't had an off night at one time or another. However, with the inception of social media and the phone camera, the entertainment game has changed immensely. But regardless of that fact, people should respect and honor comedians. Laughter is a beautiful thing. Some even say it's like medicine to the soul. It's like that quick fix. It gives us a moment of reflection, and it's a great way for us to laugh at ourselves and bond with one another, which is something that we desperately need in this sensitive and raging culture, because the country is more divided than ever before, therefore making it more difficult for people to justify current and past comments and behaviors as it pertains to race, stereotypes, and politics. Now, with that being said, let's start the interview with a very well-known comedian. He's been a fixture in the Seattle comedy scene for over 20 years, considered one of the best in the Northwest. His moniker, The Truth Hurts. Ladies and gentlemen, Travis Simmons, a.k.a. The Big Funny. Welcome to Balance Do, and thank you for joining us. You've spent a significant amount of time making other people happy. It only makes sense for me to ask you, what makes you happy?
What makes me happy? I found a quote that I really love, and I even call it somewhat of a creed. It's from the 1800s, from Robert Greene Ingersoll, who said, "Happiness is the only good. The time to be happy is now. The place to be happy is here. And the way to be happy is to make others so." Robert Greene Ingersoll.
That's beautiful.
And I like that.
Since we're in a very polarizing culture right now, I think it's only makes sense for me to ask you, what makes you unhappy about the current political structure that we find ourselves in?
What makes me unhappy is people not wanting to know information that might counter whatever they think to be true. Ronnie, have you heard the phrase, I found the end of this phrase. We've been saying this particular phrase wrong for our lives. The phrase, "the truth will set you free"?
Yeah.
You know what the second part of that phrase is?
What is that?
Nobody ever said the second part. I found it 2 days ago. The second part is, "The truth will set you free, but first it will make you angry."
That's right. Nobody likes to hear the truth these days.
They don't. they want to just kind of ride in their own little version of whatever the small, narrow, acute vision of how things are or should be, where the artist takes time to be civilization's radical voice.
Right.
Artists are the gatekeepers of truth.
That's right.
Paul Ropes.
Do you think the comedy business has changed since we're kind of living in a polarizing culture now? I mean, people seem to be a little more sensitive than they were in the past, so I can see that having an effect on comedians.
Definitely. Well, if an audience member might complain to a club owner about a comedian's content, and that content's political, then either the club owner has to be strong and brave and say, hey, man, this is a freedom of speech spot, or the club owner lets one person complain and then they don't book comedians who they know to be political or controversial.
But do you kind of feel like when you're up here on stage performing, do you kind of feel though that the temperament overall has changed?
I feel like I'm talking to grandchildren, so you got to really tippy toe with folks. Like I was told that my Trump joke was too black for the Paradise.
For those of you who don't know, the Paradise is a nightclub in Seattle that does open mic stand-up comedy.
Which, is real black. And people just can't handle it. It's hard because they can't handle truth. They don't want the truth. They're afraid of information. You can easily get wrapped up in your own little world and not want to be bothered by anything that cracks your bubble or pops your eggshell.
What was the joke? What was the Trump joke?
Oh, I told them. I said, well, people have been begging me to do. I do political jokes, and I hadn't done a Trump joke. Mm-hmm. And finally, I said, all right, I will make a Trump joke explain all of this. And I said, this is a joke. I said, first of all, stop letting Trump get you upset because you can't make him upset. There's nothing you can do that would be worse than what his business partners, ex-wives, or people into a fake university have already said. Right? I said, a fake university? Think about that. Your grandparents saved money for you. You bought books. You crammed for tests, and none of those credits count. I said, you got to be a cold person to even think of that, right? I said, but what you got to understand is you can't out-Trump Trump, just like you can't out-Grinch the Grinch, and you can't out-Grouch Oscar the Grouch.
That's right.
Oscar the Grouch lives in a trash can with levels.
Yo, when's the next time you're performing?
Next time I'm performing, usually I try to pop up over to the Paradise, which is in Burien in White Sands on Thursdays. It's open mic, usually 5-6 comedians pop up. And basically, I'm going to begin putting comedy on Instagram, on Big Funny TV.
Big Funny TV.
Give the audience the link to your Facebook page.
Facebook slash The Big Funny. Instagram also have Instagram at The Big Funny Travis.
That was great. I really appreciate your insight, man, and I really thank you for joining us, and may you be blessed with eternal happiness, my brother.
Eternal happiness. Well, thank you very much.
Now, when you're having a challenging situation that you need to bounce back from and you're feeling bad, that's a natural feeling. Everybody's experienced it at one time or another. Adversity is what builds character. Just do some self-reflection, see what needs to be changed, learn from it, make the necessary adjustments, and transform into a better quality of life. Don't take yourself too seriously. Great thing about comedians, they can laugh at themselves and turn pain into shared laughter. Thank you for supporting Balance 2. We are a veteran-owned, tax-exempt organization. All proceeds from donations go toward furthering our message of inspiration, positivity, and unique ideas, all geared towards strengthening the community. We need your continued support, whether it's listening to our podcast, reviewing it, sharing it, volunteering, or donating. For more on upcoming events or programs, please visit us at balanced2.org. Let's take this journey together, folks, and remember, we stay balanced, we don't break, we keep it together, for heaven's sake. Hope to see you soon. Peace.